Houston Texans, Houston Rockets, Houston Dynamo, Houston everything, Houston born and raised, H-Town Rebel, Space Cadet Sports.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, folks of all stripes, and distinguished guests, put your hands together for the Space Cadet Sports Podcast. Houston, we have Paul Salazar Jr.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Space Cadet Sports Podcast, your Houston sports podcast for diehard Houston sports fans. From a diehard Houston sports fan, I'm Paul Salazar Jr., your favorite diehard Astros fan podcaster. I'm an actor, improviser, creative multi-hyphenate, and of course, I'm a proud Houston native, and I have the receipts to prove it. On top of being born and raised, I stayed. I opted to stay in Houston for college. I went to University of Houston, Cougs House, where I studied the theater, my dear boy. I've spent the last decade or so as a comedy writer here in Los Angeles, where I live now, and well, I'm podcasting. That's what happens when you hit 10 years out here. You start absent-mindedly calling it the 10 instead of I-10, and you start podcasting. Welcome to said podcast. Space Cadet Sports started as a passion project because most media is infuriating as a diehard long-term fan of the Houston Astros and your other Houston sports teams. Here we aren't doom and gloom casuals, or worse, the national media haters. We love our teams and root them on, but also want to discuss, or at least we try to discuss the ins and outs of the team without too much homerism. The key word here, of course, is try. See, I had to restart that sentence because I almost left out the joke. Welcome, returning listeners, and welcome new listeners to what my brothers call the Paul Broadpod Ball Blog. Hey, brothers. Shout out to my brothers. Shout out Arrested Development fans. If you're either one of those, please check out spacecadetsports.substack.com for the full blog experience, or the full blog experience, depending on your interpretation of my pronunciation there. That's right, we're recording this transmission here. Today is kind of an overcast LA. It's not quite as sunny. It's definitely hot here, where I'm joined by my co-host and co-producer, the Roz to my Fraser. Carla, the dog, is here with me today. Listeners of the podcast know that she may get on mic from time to time. She's got the hot takes on this podcast. I've got the cool, reasonable takes. I'm the reaction to hot takes. In this hot take clickbait society, in this hot take clickbait society, you have me there to counteract it. I'm like a Tums. I'm a Pepto-Bismol. When you get acid reflux, when you're all worked up over sports, get me. Bring up the podcast. We're here to soothe you, folks, and you need me now more than ever. The Astros are on a terrible losing streak. That's right, the Astros just got swept by the Tigers and are in the middle of an unrelenting road trip. Is it time to update the panic meter? Oh boy. Also, is it time for overreaction theater with CJ Stroud's Hatgate? We have scandal. We have outrage. We have everything you want today on a clickbait hot take reaction show. If that's what you're used to, you came on a good day. No, I'm not going to. See, that's the thing. Today's going to be a tough day out there. A lot of podcasts are going to be angry. A lot of people are, people in the national media are going to have their shovels. The buzzards will be ready to bury the Astros. I know, it's a tough one, folks. I'm not happy. I'm going to be a little grouchy. I'm going to be a little grumpy. That happens when you lose. But folks, I always like to remind you that there's bigger things in life. There's huge things happening in the world right now. If you're in Houston, if you're in Texas, hey, if you're here in California with me, big things are happening in your backyard, things that we should be paying attention to, things that we should be frustrated by. So, it's good to have sports as an outlet. But, we can't let them overtake our whole life and have it just be negative emotion all the time. I opted into being an Astros fan, mainly because of where I was born. But, as an adult, I try to remember that this is supposed to be something that brings me joy and comfort and nostalgia. It brings me closer to the people in Houston, the people that I know and love out there in H-Town, those H-Town hustlers, those Australians out there, which means I got to say good day, mates, to all my Australian listeners, all my H-Town hustlers, folks. Let's get to this podcast. I'm already getting preachy. I'm getting out there, bringing the pulpit out, trying to soothe everybody's nerves, trying to calm you down. Before I've even completely got into the episode, I can't even introduce this episode without me getting the pulpit out, folks. We're gonna find some religion here today. Don't worry. It's good. It's tough. Let's break it down, folks. The Astros get swept by the Motor City Kitties. It was a tough watch. It was not easy. Carla, the dog, I think Carla gave up on this game a little early today. It was an early game. Yeah, you have to wake up early here in Los Angeles. We don't wake up that early unless we have an audition normally. So, Carla and I, we woke up early to watch this. I think it was like a 10:30 game for me. Obviously, this is hyperbole, folks. I'm a comedian. I exaggerate for effect. So it was still an early game. I think Carla was just not about it. Usually she gets treats when the Astros hit home runs. So it has not been a great spell for Carla, as the Astros offense has been anemic. However, Theo Doobie did help us out today. It was a tough one, obviously. Taylor Trammell, I apologize. Taylor Trammell, had a tough first inning in center field, had to be carted off. So definitely sending love, warm fuzzies, thoughts and prayers, all the good things out to Taylor Trammell. But let's look at the games, obviously. If you thought that was an upper, wait till you hear about these games. In the first game, the Astros lost 0-10 shellacking after getting shut out the day earlier by Baltimore and losing by double digits. The Astros were like, run it back. Let's just double down. There's no reason for Paul to be happy today. Let's make sure he's sad by losing in a horrific fashion. Spencer Arrighetti went out there, and he did well for the first 3 innings. He did serve some warm spaghetti, but that spaghetti turned cold. By the time the 5th inning came around, he was really falling apart there. Unfortunately, it wasn't the best day for spaghetti. He ended up going 5 innings pitched with 7 hits, 5 runs, 5 of them earned, giving up 4 walks, getting 5 strikeouts, and giving up 2 home runs. It was not the best day for spaghetti out there. He did have, like I said, he did have a good start. I think, right now, we just want him to keep improving, to keep getting better and keep getting sharper. When Spencer Arrighetti is doing well, he has good shape on those pitches. He gets people to whiff. He has his stuff plays and isn't so far off the plate, I guess is what I mean. He doesn't exactly have the best, stuff. If you're getting into analytics, he doesn't have the best stuff, as the scouts would say. I'm a fan, so I'm, if you're a scout out there and you think I'm wrong, please write in, let me know. But this is what I hear. This is what they say on Fangraphs. This is what the analytics say. His competitive pitches come because he has great extension and because he is able to locate them with decent command. When he doesn't have good command, his stuff doesn't play as well, and he doesn't induce as many swing and misses, as many whiffs, as they like to say. His stuff just was not competitive in this game as it went along. So we're looking for Spencer Arrighetti to have that longevity through his outings, so that his competitive stuff keeps playing as he continues to go through the lineups for multiple times. I think he has shown to have this in the past. Obviously when the Padres were looking to trade for Dylan Cease, they wanted Spencer Arrighetti in that deal. I think Spencer Arrighetti can rebound from this. He's just a young pitcher coming back from an injury, so hopefully he'll get right. But this game was just a tough one for Astros fans, a tough one for Spencer Arrighetti. In this game also, Taylor Scott returned, but sadly it was a rough day for him at the office as well. Taylor Scott had to eat some innings. He went 1 2/3 of an inning, giving up 5 hits, 5 earned runs, 2 walks, 1 strikeout, and giving up 2 home runs himself. So the Astros giving up 4 home runs in total between those 2 pitchers. Definitely not a recipe for success. Those 2 pitcher outings, that lopsided score, Well, that meant Chas McCormick, bullpen ace, got to play, and he was used again in relief in this game. Congrats to Jazzy Fizz, who picked up his first career strikeout in this game. Maybe the highlight of this game is Chas McCormick getting his first career strikeout. When you're this gloomy, when things are this bad, you just kind of have to lean into the absurdity. And it's like, congrats for Chad. I hope they have a card for him. I hope they do like a Topps card. They like get a piece of his jersey. It could be a little souvenir for him. I mean, like, of course the circumstances aren't great, but what a fun little weird career trivia that Chas McCormick gets to have now. So that was fun. In a really dark game, in a really dark time, you look for the silver linings, I guess. The silver linings came nowhere near the offense in this game as they got shut out again. Grumpy Paul couldn't even stay on that joy for too long. See, that's the thing. It's like, while I try to remain positive, while we love our team, obviously we're going to feel our feelings. That's okay. I'm going to be a little grumpy sometimes. Oscar the Grouch over here. The Astros offense couldn't get anything going in this game. They got 5 hits in total, working 2 walks and striking out 11 times. Jesus Sanchez and Victor Caratini are both struggling right now. Struggling to get hits, struggling to get some decent at-bats going, it looks like at times. Sometimes, both of those players can work some walks, they can work a count pretty well, but they are struggling right now in this offense, and this losing streak and this total weak lineup performance is putting a spotlight on them. Usually, throughout the Houston Astros golden era, what they're able to do is have a great lineup performance so struggling players can be put into the lineup and they can get right and they can start contributing to this team. But right now, the lineup performance is not going well. There might be some individual good performances day to day. There might be some overall good stats, but right now they are not getting situational hitting and doing well to drive in runs, obviously. So this was a tough walk. A tough watch, I should say. Walk, I'm talking about C-Walk. Christian Walker was 2 for 3 in this game, picked up 1 walk. Overall, the team was 2 for 7 with runners in scoring position. This game was a rough watch. In game 2, folks, you know what? Actually, we're going to take a quick break before we get to game 2. I need to take a sip of this coffee, try to see if we could shoo Grumpy Paul away a little bit, or who knows. Who knows, the next iteration, the next Pokemon evolution, the Grouchy Paul could come along. He's a little grumpier than the Grumpy Paul, I guess. That's Grouchier is the next evolution. Look, I'm over explaining this. I need my coffee. We'll be right back after this break.
Houston Astros, Houston Texans, Houston Rockets, Houston Dynamo, Houston everything, Houston, born and raised, H-Town Rebel, Space Cadet Sports.
And we're back. Welcome back to the Space Cadet Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Paul Salazar Jr. For those of you who just started in the middle of the podcast, you're like, minute 13. That's a good spot to start the podcast. Welcome. Game 2. We are talking about the Houston Astros getting swept by the Detroit Tigers. Trying not to be too grumpy about it. Trying to look forward. We'll get to it right now. We still have to recap these games. There's no other way around it, folks. We could just ignore it. I don't want to be that delusional. So let's talk about Game 2. This game was a pitcher's duel that could have been a 1-0 Astros win, but the umps saw it differently than me. Bring on the robo-umps, I say. I'm ready for the robots. Bring on the robots. You know what? No AI, but yes, robo-umps. That's the platform I'm running on. For those of you who are looking for a presidential candidate, I say yes to robo-umps, no to AI. But, this game was tough because in the second inning, Yainer Diaz nearly slid under a tag. And in my opinion, that he slid under that tag. I mean, I think, that's what the umpires were saying. He got tagged by either on, I'm not sure exactly what they're saying. They're saying he did get tagged, obviously, before that hand touched home plate. But from the angles I looked at it, in my humble opinion, look, I'm not a certified umpire. I was an umpire in college. This is true. I did work as a referee and umpire for the University of Houston for a brief amount of time. But look, I'm out of shape. I'm not trying to say I have any credentials here. I'm just saying, looked like he was safe. It would have been a great thing if he would have been safe, because obviously the Astros would have won. This pitcher's duel instead raged on as the Astros refuted that challenge. It raged on in the extra innings where Caleb Ort struggled to throw strikes and gave up a walk-off walk in the 10th, which, that's a really tough way to go for the team, for the pitcher, for fans. Nobody likes to see it, to give up a walk and give up the game, but that's how it was. You hoped that Caleb Ort would be able to throw a competitive pitch there. We are a little concerned for Caleb Ort here on the podcast. Obviously, we have a lot of faith in Caleb Ort as a pitcher, and we have a lot of faith in his talents. In the beginning of the season, I was saying that Caleb Ort could potentially even be getting that 7th inning work. At the time when we were looking who's going to be that bridge guy to Abreu, I was like, Ort might be that guy. So obviously that's something I got a little bit wrong. And I'm not saying that to be cruel. I'm just saying I believe in Caleb Ort's talent. We don't try to be cruel to our players here on the podcast, but, realistically, what I'm saying is that he's struggled this season. It has not been a solid season for him, and right now he does not look confident in his pitches. It looked like he just did not have the confidence to throw strikes, and he definitely didn't have the confidence to just give up a hit in that game to see what would happen, to let his defense pick him up. He threw a non-competitive pitch that it's tough to see, and we're rooting on Caleb Ort. That's why I'm saying, we're not trying to say this to beat up on Caleb Ort. We're saying we believe in that talent, and it being negative about it, being a crappy fan and booing him or anything like that. We're not like the fans in Chicago that are booing Kyle Tucker. Good luck getting Kyle Tucker back on your team after you're booing him. So, we're not trying to boo Caleb Ort. We're just saying this guy needs confidence right now, and we can give him confidence by supporting him. Hopefully he gets better, but this game, Caleb Ort in the 10th, a lot of people were saying maybe there could have been a better pitcher. Maybe, but this bullpen is taxed. Hunter Brown, Brian King, Bennett Sousa, Brian Abreu, they all showed up in this pitcher's duel for the Houston Astros. I think Joe Espada just ran out of pitchers. He ran out of arms. That's what happened. But, even if Yainer Diaz would have been safe, that still would have been a 1-0 win. I can't let this offense off the hook that easy. The offense in this game only mustered 4 hits. They only worked 2 walks, and they struck out 12 times. And you're kind of seeing a theme here, based off of the other games that I have been saying the stats to you, been screaming the stats to you lately. They were 0 for 4 with runners in scoring position, obviously only left 4 on base as they only had 4 hits. But still, those opportunities they didn't have many opportunities, but the opportunities they had were squandered, obviously. If that one hit would have gone our way, if that one call would have gone our way, those numbers would be skewed a little bit better in a little bit of a way that would make us feel happier about it, obviously. But alas, that's not how it went. This offense is struggling to find life right now, struggling to find a heartbeat. In Game 3, today's game, obviously sucked from the beginning, as we teased earlier. Not even teased, we just couldn't get around talking about Taylor Trammell going down with such an injury. We could not avoid talking about Framber Diaz having a rough inning. It was just a tough way to start this game. But yeah, it just started with Framber spiraling. He giving up 6 runs in the first is tough to see. I know a lot of fans, they love to beat up on Framber. They really don't consider, they love to say he's not an ace on the teams. They love to knock him down because he does have sometimes some up and down kind of streaky outings, and I think that's just how it goes sometimes. Baseball is a streaky sport. If you watch, I watch all the games. That's what I say. I'm a comedian. I might not have any sources. I might jokingly say, you take these opinions with a huge grain of salt. These are opinions. I am not out here trying to do damage with them. We're just trying to discuss our beloved Astros, but I truthfully say, and watching all these games, I think some fans just don't understand the roller coaster of emotions it is to be a baseball fan. And this season, it has been a huge roller coaster. And Framber Valdez has been on a roller coaster himself, and we have to support this man. Obviously, he struggled a lot, having really wild seasons before he started working with the sports psychologist, and I think he's just going through a tough stretch, and he just kind of needs to breathe through it a bit here. Hopefully, he'll get right. He has the stuff. He has the right mentality. He wants to compete. I think this team struggling has put a lot of pressure on a lot of players, and they just need to work through it. Framber in this game, he went 5 innings, which is kind of a highlight. I really think that's a huge highlight for having such a tough first inning. The bullpen was going in the first inning, going 5 innings. Really helps this bullpen that has been taxed. I'm glad he was able to go that long. He did give up 7 hits, 7 earned runs, giving up 4 walks, which did not help, and only 2 strikeouts. His stuff just didn't look as sharp at times, but he went out there and he competed, and he pitched as many innings as he could for us, so you got to appreciate that. You also have to appreciate that the Astros scoreless streak ends in the 4th with a Dubon 2-run homer. But sadly for the Houston Astros offense, that's really all she wrote. Yainer Diaz did pick up 2 hits, but this offense has struggled. And it really looks like Jesus Sanchez is going to have to be dropped down in the lineup because his struggling has not ended. And sadly, with Taylor Trammell out, it looks like we're going to have to find some more, more platoon rotations in and out for the offense. So, I think Jesus Sanchez is pretty high up there on the depth chart for outfielders, so we will see more Jesus Sanchez. Hopefully, he can work his way out of this rut. And in that Baltimore series, we really didn't highlight it as much because the Astros are getting trounced by double digits, but Taylor Trammell, really had 2 great, amazing plays at Dyken Park, robbing a grand slam, robbing another multi-digit home run. Like the guy obviously can ball. He looks like he's having fun out there. We're rooting him on, but right now he is just struggling at the plate. So as we anticipate him getting more play until Taylor Trammell or maybe Jake Myers is back, we're hoping that he finds that swing and can hit more consistently and honestly hit for power and bring in runs, because that's kind of what we're hoping he would be able to do as like a left-handed power bat. And he showed some flashes after we first got him from the trade, but it has been a struggle for the young player lately. Moving on, we also in the bullpen, we had Sean Dubin, De Los Santos, and Logan Van Wy come in this game and hold it down, do fairly well in the bullpen. It's good to see some zeros right now come out of pitching performances because it has been tough. Has been some tough sledding for the Houston Astros on all fronts. This team has been a team that throughout its golden era seems that they can be pretty streaky. They start off slow, they start to pick up in summer, in late summer they start to struggle again, and then by fall they figured it out. And I think that this is fine. As long as they bounce back from this, as long as they're still in first place where they are right now, this is something that they can endure and they can overcome. However, they really do need to bounce back quickly. They can't go through this much more losing. This has been a tough losing streak and has not been something that they've been through lately. But when you look at all of their injuries, you have to understand that maybe this was coming a little bit. So they need to figure out a way to tighten it up, figure out a lineup that works, get healthy, hopefully bring some players back to help them get healthy, and they can overcome this. Right now, they are still in first. So I hit you with the calmate. Things can work out. Calm. I was like, how a calmate. And if you're not bilingual, I'm telling you to calm down. Calm down, my friend. Calm down, my clown. Don't worry. I do think that they can overcome this. They obviously do have to bounce back. and have to show that they're the Houston Astros that we've known throughout this golden era. And something that gives me hope for that is Carlos Correa. Carlos Correa is back with the Houston Astros, and obviously has been hitting pretty well. Not well enough to completely put the team on his back, obviously. Nobody's been hitting that well on the team. However, I think the reason why I'm saying Carlos Correa brings me so much hope is because he is a motivational leader. He is a guy that will get in people's chests in that locker room and call them higher. After the game, he was honest after today's game, I should say, and he has a quote. It says here, quote, "We got outplayed. When you are facing one of the best teams in the league and we don't show up, that's going to happen." And end quote there. And I think Correa, he's been decent, but obviously he's not making excuses for himself or for the team losing here. And I think that's big. I think he's going to be upset by this. Obviously, this team wants to win. They're not just going to roll over. This is kind of, if we could afford a losing streak, this is kind of when we can afford a losing streak. Not just because it's not late in the season's not over, and not just because we're ahead of the Mariners, but because the Mariners aren't doing too well themselves. We can't rely on the Mariners not playing well, but the Astros are still 1.5 games ahead of the Mariners and 7 games ahead of the Rangers. They still have time to turn it around and win and leave the rest of the division in the dust. This team has know-how and leadership. The Astros know what they're doing. They've been there before. It isn't too late, but they need to be able to take the pressure off and get back to their game. I feel like a lot of people have been critical out there of not, the team obviously is a frustrating time, but also of the coaches. I think they've been saying the hitting coaches have got to go, and, they are, there's no other way around the fact that they are the most free-swinging team on first pitch. That's just who they are. That's like Jose Altuve. Sometimes the team just follows him. And I think the approach is aggressive. But however, this aggressive approach is also supposed to be tapered down as the count goes on. You're supposed to be more selective. And maybe, the philosophy needs a little bit of tweaking. And maybe I do think they tweak it from player to player. But, this team and these coaches have been successful for how many years now? I think that we're going through a bad streak, of course, but these things kind of happen in baseball. Like, are you new here? Are you trying to create clickbait? Like, I think, yes, the hitting philosophy needs to be tweaked a bit, but these hitting coaches, that's what they're there for. I think at this point in the season, with a team like the Houston Astros, you don't just fire them when you're first in the division. And with that being said, too, like Joe Espada, people are claiming that manager Joe Espada should be fired. This is just wild to me. Just 2 weeks ago, this guy was the top of people's list for manager of the year. And with all the injuries, and with all of the streaky hitting performances, and with all of the streaky pitching performances we've seen this year, you're really going to blame the manager? You think another person could have managed this better? I mean, I don't see how. Yeah, maybe there is a guy out there, but this guy isn't managing it that terribly. This team is in first place. Calmate. A team in first place that has dealt with all these injuries shouldn't have to deal with all of these clickbait hacks calling for jobs in August. When you're in first place, that's lunacy. Calmate out there. If this team takes a step back, we will deal with it when it happens. But right now, the Astros are still in the lead. And if they take a step back, that's when we can start figuring out if they're going to be in the wild card running. And I believe they are right now. So let's not be doomers. Let's not be losers and panic because of our emotions out here. Sports are supposed to bring us joy. Remember, they're supposed to be an outlet for us, if anything. So don't make it unhealthy, weirdo. Right now, the Astros have been there before, and they've won the division for so many seasons now. Since even the 2020 season when the Athletics won. That wasn't even a full season, So it's like a lot of the full seasons lately, the Astros have won. They're on a historic streak right now for the team for winning the division. So until the Mariners are ahead of us, I think we calm down some of this panic rhetoric. I don't think panic is going to help us, our hearts, or the team. So until next week, I'm at least not worried and not calling for a potential manager of the year candidate to be fired. So let's all just calmate. Just take a breath. It's a tough time, but hopefully this team can bounce back. They can turn the page, and tomorrow can be a new day. Before we end, there's more agita out there. There's more emotions, folk. Foosball's around the corner. We know foosball's the devil. Foosball gets a lot of people upset in Houston. Texas is a football state. CJ Stroud was seen wearing a Seattle Mariners hat to practice during training camp here with the Houston Texans, and the internet has flipped its lid. Folks, this is... I didn't talk about it last time because to me it's this hat story, Hatgate. It's a non-story. I think people just love clickbait, and we live in an outraged society. Obviously, I feel like, if I just ignored that story, it would go away, but it just kept getting bigger. So I feel like I gotta talk about all the rage that's happening out there. I'm the rage that's in opposition to that rage, I guess, like a toxic positivity rage. I don't know. But look, see, CJ Stroud was wearing a hat that matched his fit, and he said it was just for fashion. And he also said, "I love the Astros." CJ Stroud has been seen going to Astros games and supporting the Astros. He said in the press conference, his full quote was something like, he loves the Astros and he loves the Dodgers. The kid's from the Los Angeles area, and when he moved to Houston, he fully leaned into being an Astros fan and went to games, said he loves the Astros, supported them during the playoffs. He is a great Houston representative. So just calm down. Like, why are we trying to get at him for wearing a hat that matched his outfit? He says he's a fashion guy. A lot of these kids, listen up, old man. A lot of these kids match their outfits and their hats. They're not like you and just wear whatever, okay? They care about fashion. So CJ Stroud's out here just trying to match, trying to have swag. He's trying to drip that swagoo, and you're just too old to understand. He probably doesn't have a PR team telling him what hat to wear, or else they probably would have advised him against it. But I don't begrudge that to him. I think that's being a little silly, folks. I think you gotta let him have his swag, let him have his drip. It's no big deal. This is a non-story. And with that being said, that's going to do it for this transmission, Space Cadets. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. Please hit those buttons for me. Like it, rate it, review it, subscribe, share, bop it, kick it, skip it, smash all of those buttons for me. We are a small podcast and only go as far as our listenership takes us. We are supported by listeners like you. Dun, 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 dun. So please share with a Houston fan or Australian in your life and give us a 5-star rating wherever you listen to this podcast on. That really does a huge amount of help for this podcast. If you're like, how can I help Paul? How can I support him? Well, you give us a 5-star review, or you could check out the Substack, that's spacecadetsports.substack.com. You can help me out by becoming a subscriber there, putting your email in that field, or downloading the app, subscribing to Space Cadet Sports. You could say you want notifications instead of emails if you want to do the app way. That subscription helps out a lot, and that means you get all of the podcasts, all of the articles, all of the meme dumps sent directly to you for free. You can have a premium subscription if you really want to support, help out financially, help pay the bills. I will appreciate that. Or if you want to help out, you can find merch. That's right, we have merch here. You can find hats. You can have Cam Smith aircraft carrier hats. You can get a Carla the dog hat. That's found on paulsalazarjr.net. That's right, I'm nothing but net. You can find me on paulsalazarjr.net. Let me know what you think, folks. Do you think foosball's the devil? Or do you think I'm being a little toxic, having some toxic positivity here? Do you think the Astros are going to lose the division? Do you think the golden era is over? Are you out there chewing your fingernails down to the wick? How are you doing emotionally? Let me know at Space Cadet Sports on social media, at spacecadetsports.bsky.social on Blue Sky. Or you can even call in and let me know how you're feeling at speakpipe.com/spacecadetsports. Look, only if you're reasonable. Look, if you're going to come crazy, you're going to be deleted and blocked. I'm not looking for trolls or bots. I'm trying to be here for the real ones. Let me know what you're thinking. Let me know if you want to engage in that dialogue. I'm here for you. If you've made it this far and you're like, I know this guy. I like him. I want more from him. Well, thanks so much, friend. You can look for me on social media, making weird jokes, making art, memes, podcasts, and so much more at Paul Salazar Jr. Once again, that website is paulsalazarjr.net, where you can find my other Substack, all my other nonsense, if you can ask me. Thanks for listening. Remember to be the best that you can be. Keep your head up, kid. And as always, vamos Astros.